This is Lay the Points show that I do, episode number 15. Yesterday, the Nationals decided to only score one in the first five and then smash eight more after that. That kind of sucked because we were winning right up until the end. We even have a chance in the fifth inning with the plus .5 to just tie it, and that went awry in that one. Uh, Sucked. That was a crappy loss yesterday. And Yeah, it was just a crappy loss. Not a good loss. We were winning. It was in a good spot until the fifth inning or whatever there, and then we even a chance in the fifth inning. So sixth inning they score a run right away. It's just tough one right there. Um, let's get to the bet first that I'm gonna put out today, guys. This is the latest late game of the day of ever. Maybe this game is scheduled at 10 at night, and hey, I can't choose when the games are scheduled, so it is what it is. But Shohei Ohtani's pitching versus the Marlins. His strikeout total is 7.5, guys. He's averaging like 9 Ks a game. It's at plus 100, 7.5 plus 100. The Marlins strike out 8.5 times a game, which normally would scare me away from a 7.5, but Shohei goes deep. Shohei will go 6, 7, 8 innings. He'll probably strike out a side once. It's just a good spot. You're getting him at even money to go over 7.5 Ks. I think it's a great bet. So where I'm at is Shohei Ohtani over 7.5 strikeouts at plus 100. To me, it's a fantastic bet. Anytime you can get these high strikeout guys at even money or better, they're good plays because the high strikeout guys tend to get more leeway, right? They get more, they get to go longer. They get to go 100 pitches. They get to go, as opposed to getting pulled out at 80. A lot of times, right at the end of the game, you get some of your strikeouts because the pitchers are kind of changing what they're doing. They're going from hard stuff to sweepers and curves, and they're giving the hitters different eye levels and different things, and then they blow them that heat by them. Shohei's been a strikeout machine, so you too, buddy. Um, I got to work, so I don't got to work Memorial Day, but I got to work all weekend. I work swing shift, if you guys know what that is. So, again, I interviewed yesterday, so I might be on days here coming up. So we'll see what happens there. But that's where I'm at. And I'm sorry, guys, this game is super late. So if you're not on the West Coast or in Hawaii or something, this game is going to be so late. I probably won't stay up and watch any of it myself. I'll just expect Ohtani to do what I want him to do. But at even money, guys, it's hard. It's hard to not take this because it's only 7.5 Ks. And as Ohtani's went, even in the bad outings, he still had 8 Ks, 9 Ks, even in his bad outings. And the Angels don't have a lot of places to turn in their bullpen, so their starters have to go deep. And against Miami, the Angels are going to be looking to get some wins here against Miami. Miami doesn't score a lot unless they're playing in Colorado and ruining my unders. But other than that, they don't tend to score very much. So the Angels should win this game too. So believe it or not, the Angels minus the 1.5 behind Ohtani pitching is pretty good play too. So really, either play is pretty good. You're getting Ohtani at even money, which is going to be better than, or it's not going to be as good as laying the run, but it's going to be better than, I think the money line is 200, minus 200 in this one. So even laying the run, you're not getting a good price. I didn't look at what the lay in the run price was, but it's not at minus 200 money line. I know it's not going to be a good price there. So, but the plus 100 for his K prop is a pretty good. For Ohtani, that's a good number. A lot of times they're negative, negative 130, negative 140. So you get it at even or better, it's a pretty good number. So be looking out for that. Ohtani over 7.5 Ks at plus 100. Let's go to NFL news because NFL news keeps popping up. NFL is the most interesting sport in America. per like the media. So even though there's a amazing finals going on, it's not LeBron James and stuff. So they've already kind of quit talking about it. And yesterday or the day before or whatever was the Patrick Mahomes stuff where he come out and said, "Nah, he's just about winning. He'll take less money." Essentially, is what he said. Today or yesterday, DeAndre Hopkins gets cut. Now they cut him partially because they couldn't find anyone to take on his contract, and the media is not saying that, but that's the truth because he has like $35 million more dollars in the next 2 years. And teams don't like to pay receivers like that actually want to win. The teams that actually win don't pay receivers like that. It's just the way it works. You look at Miami, they pay a receiver like that, they don't win. So the teams that want to win generally keep their receiver pay, in the $12 million to $20 million range, not 25. It's not realistic. But now DeAndre Hopkins, with no contract hanging over anyone's head, can go sign anywhere he wants. He can pick his ring chaser. So I'll be honest, it's down to just a few teams. And guys, don't take it as a cap space. Anytime you hear those words like cap space and all that, it's all BS in the NFL. Teams can move their money around. Teams can adjust their quarterback, adjust their, whatever, their top paid players. What they can do is they can pay them out some of the money up front, and they can like switch it to bonus money on their contract, give them the money now and clear up cap space. And they do it all the time. Every year teams do it. And the teams that stay good do it the most. So make no mistake, DeAndre Hopkins will end up on a contender. And that makes them a lot better. If you don't believe me, go look at DeAndre Hopkins' stats since he's been in the league. He's like first, second, or third in basically everything. The guy dropped 3 passes last year, or 3 passes out of his like last 180 catches or something. He's dropped 3. It's like 1%, less than 1%. The guy is an absolute machine. A contender. Any contender out there, even contenders that have receivers, want DeAndre Hopkins because he's different. He's a different piece. He catches everything. He's not overly fast, but when you throw the ball anywhere near him, he catches it, and he's a red zone problem. So the teams, I think personally, this is just from a quick look without paying any attention much to what teams will have to adjust to get him. I think the Jets are a realistic possibility, even though he hasn't mentioned them to play with Rodgers, because Hopkins has mentioned some teams. He mentioned like 5 teams with 5 specific quarterbacks and he wants a good front office. Now, the Jets aren't the best front office, so but the Ravens also make sense, which sounds crazy, but it does. And the Ravens could pair him and Odell and be a Odell, Hopkins, and Andrews is a very formidable passing attack if you can get Lamar Jackson to throw the ball. They would be very tough to beat. And then there's obviously the Kansas City Chiefs. The Kansas City Chiefs could move some money around and put him right there. That's another place. And the Buffalo Bills were also a place he mentioned. But I think there's an outlier. I think there's an outlier that would give him money, that cleared up a bunch of space this year, that has a guy already but they're coming off injury, but they could be a real problem, and that is the Rams. He could go sign with the Rams and pair up with Kupp and pair up with Stafford, and they could go on one more run because that would make an offense. They would be able to field an offense with those 2 guys that would be almost unguardable because they play similar and they catch everything. So Stafford would put up 30 points a game again. It's hard to beat NFL teams when they put up 30 points. So I think the Rams are a factor. Just we haven't heard about it yet, but I do think they're a factor. They cleared up a lot of money space, a lot of problems with their cap. Again, like I said, that doesn't matter that much. Teams can move their money around. They can do what they need to do to get players, especially free agents, because there's no contract already in place. Again, so that's what we're looking at here. I don't think he's going to go to a team that is a borderline contender or is rebuilding. I don't think he will. He is personally on podcasts and stuff basically said he won't. So I think it leaves just a few teams. And I think honestly, it's probably down to Baltimore and Kansas City in his mind. He's going to do whatever he can to get on one of those two teams. The Bills were a factor too. Here's the problem with the Bills, I think, for Hopkins. I think the Bills aren't pretty enough. They're not the flashy side of it, right? The Bills are a good football team built as a team, where the Ravens are a good football team built around Lamar, and Kansas City's a good football team because they're the best football team. They've built around everything, but I don't know. I think personally, I think it's down to the Ravens and the Chiefs, and it could come down to a money thing. It depends on how greedy Hopkins is, and he could end up somewhere else based on a money thing, but still at a contender. I don't think that some of these other teams that people are going to want him to go to are realistic. I don't think the Eagles are realistic. They already have 2 elite receivers. There's no footballs there for him. I don't think like teams like the Cowboys are realistic because I don't think he wants to be there. I think he wants to be at a place because here's the thing, even putting DeAndre Hopkins on the Cowboys doesn't make them better than the other teams. It may make them equal to them, but it doesn't make them better. Hopkins wants to be at a place where he's pretty well guaranteeing himself a championship game. Not necessarily the Super Bowl, but at least playing in a championship game. So that's why I think it's kind of down to just a couple teams. Again, you put him on the Ravens if you can get an offense in place, which the offense that the Ravens are going to be running this year is going to be a lot more pass friendly and less runs. You put him with Odell, that's a pretty good matchup. That's a pretty good group with Andrews, Odell, and Hopkins, and it makes a lot of sense. But that still just depends on Lamar. You got to get Lamar to throw the football. And I'm not saying he can't. What I'm saying is Lamar doesn't. A lot of times Lamar Jackson will defer to the run versus defer to the pass. And it's not that he can't. He can throw the ball really well. It's just the way he chooses to play, where you see guys like Mahomes that even though they could run, they defer to the pass as opposed to the run. And I think Hopkins would rather be on a passer than a primary runner in those situations, because there's going to be a lot of backyard football and stuff that gets played in Baltimore, because just even without Hopkins, the dynamicness of Odell is going to open everything up for Andrews and that tight end that came on last year. I can't remember his name, the rookie tight end. Baltimore's going to be a lot better than people think, guys. Here's the thing for you guys to pay attention to. Cincinnati is not necessarily the best team in the AFC North. And I know people want to believe that, and they want to, because Cincinnati's had this recent success. But in both seasons, Cincinnati's had this success. Lamar's been hurt. The Steelers were somewhat rebuilding, and the Browns didn't have their quarterback yet. And the Bengals started out both of these seasons behind the 8 ball until Lamar got hurt. So don't be so sure that the Bengals are this star of the AFC North. I actually don't think they'll win the AFC North this year. I actually don't think they will. I think Baltimore's more talented than them. And if Baltimore ends up with Hopkins, they're significantly more talented than them. The Bengals aren't very good on the O-line. I know they added the Orlando Brown, and they're not very good on defense. The overall of their defense is solid, but their situational defense isn't great. They get beat in big situations. So I would rather put my money on Baltimore or even the Steelers over the Bengals. And I know Joe Burrow and all that, but Joe Burrow's going to take a bunch of money and he's going to hurt the team. And then Jamar Chase is coming right behind him to take a bunch of money and hurt the team. So it's just not there. I think the Bengals have had their little window, and I think it's going to close up because of money. So, but I think the Steelers are on their way up. And I know that Baltimore is in a situation right now to compete. So personally, I think that the DeAndre Hopkins sweepstakes, I'll call it, is down to just a couple teams. And there is a couple outliers that could swoop in with the right amount of money. And by them, I mean like the Rams or the Jets, um, or even kind of like an obscure one would be possibly a team like the 49ers, which sounds crazy, but the 49ers have the draft capital and different things. They have players that they could trade. Oh, never mind. My bad. Never mind. He's a free agent. So yeah, the 49ers are out. For some reason I got it in my head that he could be traded for. Um, yeah, so basically it's just teams that he wants to go to. I mean, that's what it boils down to. I mean, he's got the teams that he wants to go to, and he's going to pick one of them, and they're going to make the money right. I mean, that's just what it is. So expect to see him in an elite contenders uniform. And there's some more pieces that could fall, guys. Don't make no mistake. You could see guys like Mike Evans in a different uniform before the season starts. You could see, I mean, there's a lot of things that could still happen with contenders and really good players. It's still a whole bunch of things that could happen. But anyways, guys, thank you for your time. Again, today's bet of the day is Shohei Ohtani over 7.5 Ks at plus 100. I like this one. I'm going to be, I probably put more than a unit on it because he's been pretty consistent with these strikeouts. So Shohei Ohtani over 7.5 Ks, plus 100. You guys have a great day. This is Jacob from Wager Me This. Happy Memorial Day weekend. Hopefully you're out doing all kinds of stuff that we do on Memorial Day here in the United States, which is like drink and have fun at lakes and eat hot dogs and hamburgers and, yeah, do all the Memorial Day fun stuff. Thank you guys for your time. This is Jacob from Wager Me This.